Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing MXGP 2020, and it'll be part 6 of our MXGP 2020 Championship, and it's time for Arroyomolinos. So here we are, waiting for the grids to drop on board the Yamaha, and away we go. Now we're still occupying that red plate for the time being. Are we going to be the end of this one? A bit of contacts made there as we get shoved wide into the first corner there, pushing really round the outside of a couple of riders there. Jeffrey Hurlings gets the Fox's hole shot, and now it's going to be Clement Desal, one of our championship protagonists, fighting against ourselves, the ultimate championship protagonist in this instance. We dive up on the inside. I just thought about a lunge, but just couldn't quite get the job done. As we'll get on the left-hand side, begin to pursue Clement Desal and Jeffrey Hurling, so be careful over this little jump here, don't go too far. Certainly done that in the past, gone too far and gone way overshot as we get a bit of a wheelie there, stuck on the rear tyre of the KRT wheel on the back one there, of course, as we get on the left-hand side, chasing down the number 25. So as things have just calmed down a little bit, it's your top three men so far, Hurlings, Desal and Grant in the top three. Can't actually quite see who is behind us as of yet. I've not taken a glance around my shoulder and probably won't for the foreseeable future as we get into the berm for the left-hander now. 2 minutes of this one remains, so we'll probably do around 3 or 4 laps in this event so far for race 1. It's got a little bit out of shape there, bouncing on top of the hill there as we go on the right-hand side and just drop it down onto the sort of decline of the jump, and the same can be said here. We might have a lunge going up on the inside of Clement Desal for this next sector of track, and pretty good around this particular part. Going hard on the brakes is very much where we sort of gain our time on board this Yamaha. The brakes and DrAce work very well in most of the bike games we tend to play. So on the left hand side, lost a little bit of ground to Clement Desal coming out of the corner there. We're now into the miniature tabletop section. We're getting a bit of speed for the big lift in a moment's time. There you go, Clement Desal 1 second clear from Grant as things stand, with Jeffrey Hurlings just a couple of more tenths ahead of Clement Desal, the KRT rider, just ahead. But we did lose a bit of ground going into that left-hander for the final corner. We've completely overshot that one, so we'll probably be gobbled up with the rest of the pack behind us if we are not careful going into the next couple of right-handers. And a massive wheelie there, absolutely huge wheelie. Big mistake coming in from the man who's currently leading this MXGP World Championship, and oh god, all over the place now. Things are looking a bit rough now for Grant as we're going to try and recompose oneself. The battle for the victory is one and truly out of our contention right now. It's going to be down to Hurlings and Clement Desal, but for the time being, we're going to try and just get back into it. Arroyomolinos is... it's not one of my best tracks, I'll be truly honest with you. I've never sort of played it before until MXGP 2020, and I really don't do the best of jobs when I do tackle this Spanish track for Xanadu Arroyomolinos. I do believe that's the full name of it, or the full name I actually can't even pronounce it, Xanadu something, I don't remember. But long story short, we're here in Spain in the Arroyomolinos GP for race 1, and we only have 8 minutes remaining of this session until we start the next sort of 2 laps to indicate the final 2 for the end of race 1. But Hurlings now leads from Clement Desal, which is bad news for us, to be honest with you. The more points Clement Desal gets, the more he'll take away from our championship charge, as we now go on the left hand side. A little bit too tight to the apex there, a little bit of a dust mound, and a brief look behind us doesn't really fill myself with confidence as we see a plethora of riders there, all eagerly waiting for me to make a little mistake or to just let the door open a little bit, and then everyone will come on through. We certainly don't want to allow that happen, so big jump here, got to be close to the sandbags. Oh no, absolute carnage. Things have gone heck to a handbasket. Well and truly, we're behind Koldenoff, we're behind Jonas, we're behind Cairoli, and there's even more riders ahead of us who we didn't even see, who all got the best of us. Absolutely devastation there. As teammate to Clement Desal, Ivo Monticelli, is just behind me, which of course makes things a little bit more difficult for us. It certainly does, as we're going to be trying to get through on Koldenoff, going to try and get through on Cairoli as well if the opportunity arises. But we will be starting the final 2 laps in just a moment's time. There's a little deep here as we go on the right hand side next to Paul's Jonas, of course on board that Husqvarna as well as we go around the outside. Obstacle avoided, the game says. The massive slap on the metaphorical wrist for Grant, and he has been zooped straight back to exactly where he was before he went off track. That off track excursion has given us no favours there, not at all. Down in 9th position here in Arroyomolinos. Certainly not going for the way for the man on board the Yamaha as things stand. But I'll be honest with you, I kind of expected damage limitations in this race because I never really feel that confident here. I can't seem to get the rhythm going. The sort of jumps I'm not particularly fond of, and the areas of where my hard braking zone just doesn't really get pushed to the limits here in this particular track. But we are fighting through. We're now up into 7th position, just trailing behind Paul Jonas, as we have a little bit of a squirm there on the acceleration and a little bit of a scrub as well, just to try and manoeuvre the bike a little bit easier, but for some reason not really working out right now as things stand. So there's going to be 2 more laps at the end of race 1, and then we'll be looking into race 2 for hopefully a much better start and a much better continuation towards the end of this one. So trying to wheelie across the tabletop section, not really helping me out too much there. Some of the tabletop sections are just completely easily done with a wheelie, but this instance not so much when it's a smaller, shorter variant in the sense of, or at least a more spread out tabletop section compared to your thinner, tighter jumps. Usually when you pull back, and it looks like it helps out a lot. But look at Thomas there. Thomas is now ahead of us. He's going to go for the secondary lunge there. Not quite wonderful defending from Grant, but we're defending for 7th position, and that's not exactly where we want to be defending. We want to continue to push to try and chase down Paul Jonas and even some of the riders ahead of him, including, I think Kai Rowley's still there as well. I think I can just see him in the distance. He's going into the left-hander now, going possibly around the outside of another rider. We beat Glenn Coldenough early, so it won't be him. Maybe Jeremy Seawer, didn't see him behind us, so maybe he's going to be up there a little bit further beyond, but it's difficult to see when we're focusing so much on Matt Grant right now, looking at those handlebars and the right foot going into the dirt there, just trying to position the bike and let it glide around. So of course on the MXGP bike, and any dirt bike for that matter, you get yourself into the rut and you just trust it. You just put everything into that corner and just let the bike do the work. You put your foot out just to help you, but the rest of it you just focus on it. So for the time being, it's Paolo. What on earth is that? What a mistake. What an absolute blunder for the man who's leading the World Championship. We might be holding on to the red plate for now, but for how much longer? As this one has been a disaster. Absolutely not good. Just really not good. This has been exactly the opposite what I expected starting this video today, so my apologies for returning back to Muddy Monday with an 8th place, well, currently 8th place. It might not be an 8th place finish as we have Thomas ahead of us and still a plethora of riders behind us, and we made another mistake. What is going on here today, ladies and gentlemen? Another mistake coming in for the man on board the Yamaha as Coldenough is behind us. Jacobi and Kai Rowley battling it out for 3rd position. Both men doing battle to try and take that final podium's position as we now begin our final lap, and it's gone heck to a handbasket, guys and gals. It has gone absolutely heck to a handbasket. Jeremy Van Hoorbeek, everyone's got, Jasconis is there, Monticelli, Coldenough. Oh, I just realised actually that Monticelli in this game is still not onto the KRT machine, is he? He's still with Glenn Coldenough on board the Gas, the purpose-built KTM, if you will, from a different, I think it's still the same factory actually, but they just run a different name, in this case being the Gas, which, not a fan of that particular name to be honest with you. But now onto the left-hand side, fighting a little bit more with a couple of riders behind and a bit more before, of course with Monticelli and the teammate Glenn Coldenoff. I've not yet seen my teammate. It's not really been any sort of Yamahas battling with me yet as things stand. They are both further up the road and certainly have nothing to do with me at this time. It's being, goodness me, Ivo Monticelli, that massive collision as the Gas man moves ahead of us. 128 versus the 461, and so far it's the 461 who gets the lead, but now going into the right-hander to finally finish this particular endeavour and this race 1 in a very disconsolate 10th position. So the end of race 1, Clement Desal wins on board the Kawasaki with Jeffrey Hurlings and Henry Jacobi on the podium. So no wasted time, straight into race 2, and it's wet. It is so wet. Of course the rain has opened and now we're going to have to struggle in these conditions. But I tell you what, oh, massive contact there for the left-hand side. Jonas getting slapped into the side of me there as Clement Desal takes the Fox's whole shot, and now we're jumping into 2nd position right behind the man on the KRT. We're going to try and get through on the left-hand side here, potentially. What a move up on the inside. Not quite, though. Clement Desal still hanging on to that 1st position. Of course, the battle of the championship protagonists is well and truly on here today as we get on the right-hand side for race 2 here in Arroyomolinos in Spain. You wouldn't believe it's Spain, because look how it looks. Dark, windy, miserable, and very damp. It's not what you expected. The variable weather in MXGP for some reason has certainly favoured the more heavier weather, in the sense of more rain, more fog and more mist compared to the sunny and maybe a bit of shining sun every now and again we get. But for the time being, we've had more wet races than we've had dry races in this championship mode. I'm not sure if I've picked the wrong weather option, to be honest with you. I picked variable, which I expected it to be completely a variation of every single type of weather, but for the time being we've mainly had just mainly wet. The last race being the exception. Of course we did have A nice dry race there, but of course, with 1 minute and 45 seconds remaining of this one, we're already in the lead, and this is where I do feel like I'm strongest. The wetter conditions seem to really favour us and the Yamaha. I'm not exactly sure why that is. Maybe the other riders just tend to struggle a little bit more, but for me, I feel so confident. We're just easier on the acceleration, harder on the brakes, just feels like a great combination for me in the wet conditions. Now, something to mention, which I was supposed to mention earlier, which I completely neglected to mention, is I have changed over to the DualSense controller now here on PC when playing MXGP 2020. As far as the MotoGP games go and Ride 4, etc., I'm still using the DualShock for my preferred and favourite particular controller, but for the time being, as far as the actual MXGP and Monster Energy Supercross goes, I have enjoyed using the DualSense controller. I find the vibration better depicts what the feeling should be around these particular sort of difficult circumstances, around the dirtier, muddier and muddier situations we get on the left-hand side. Now what we're going into, we're thinking with Jeremy Van Hoorbeek. What on earth is going on with Jeremy Van Hoorbeek? It looked like he was pedalling them for a section. No idea why Jeremy Van Hoorbeek is sitting there in the middle of the track just chilling, pedalling his little feet. I have no idea what's going on there, but all we really need to know is that this weather is not going to improve. The heavens have opened once again and it's raining even more heavily here in Arroyomolinos. I think this one is a gift from God himself. We're going to have a wonderful opportunity now from getting the race victory, and of course after the disaster that was race 1, this is well and truly needed for us right now to improve our chances of holding on to that elusive red plate. The 461 involved with the red plate just looks so much better. It's engulfed in that red colour and it just stands out more than anyone else's number on this particular game right now, of course. But we are very, very comfortably in the lead as we're going to cross the line to indicate the final 2 laps. And as in the past, it was always Cairoli time in those final 2 laps. It's changed to Grant time. It's DrAce's time to ace for those final 2 laps. We really seem to get the gumption and the speed towards the end of the race. I guess that's just more of it being just we're getting closer and closer towards the end, and it's a sense of urgency to make sure you have the best position possible to finish in the best position way. And I guess that's the way we're going to call it here today with ace time, I guess. But now onto the left-hand side, we're going into the berm for the left-hander, nice and tight to the apex there. That left boot just helping me get myself around the corner. Just see Glenn Coldenough, Van Hoorbeek, etc. A couple of riders behind us. I'm not too sure who the actual antagonist is in this Grand Prix in second place, but they are yet to let me go, and I don't really want to have a look behind me because you never know what's going to happen when you start looking behind you. It's a bad idea to start looking behind. You waste time and you lose concentration. So for us, let's just focus on the race and the task at hand right now. Keeping speed, keeping the temperature in the tyres, and just focusing on the job right now. And of course we ran it a little bit deep there. The man in second place isn't that far behind. This could be getting a little bit interesting here in Arroyomolinos, and I don't believe I've ever won here in Arroyomolinos, so this could be something very fascinating. I don't think we'll win the Grand Prix, but we'll certainly win the race too if we can, and it's the person I did not want it to be. Clement Desal just less than 2 seconds behind as things stand right now. We'll have 1 lap and a half left of this Grand Prix, or at least race event as well, for Clement Desal to chase me down. Is he going to get the job done? Probably not, but going into the left-hand now, we're out of track. Obstacle has been avoided. Clement Desal has now taken the lead. The KRT has beaten the Yamaha. It's like World Superbike this right now. Kawasaki versus Yamaha. We'll now get the acceleration, get over the line here, and we're beginning the final lap. The best lap of the race so far goes to Clement Desal with a 1:49.306. So we just dive up at the inside of Desal. Brilliantly done. Beautifully done. Now up in the lead once again. We're going to try and defend against Clement Desal for this final lap here in Arroyomolinos for Spain. So on the left-hand side we'll go now, bringing that left boot in, just trying to be extra gentle on the acceleration, because the controller for the DualSense, the dead zone on the trigger, is a little bit larger compared to the DualShock 4, so I have to be very careful I don't push it too much and end up spinning the rear and just launching myself and thwarting my progress on board this Yamaha. So into the right-hander to start the first sector, or at least to complete the first sector. Not too bad in the sense of speed. Good landing there as well, coming down to the decline of that first massive leap of this sort of track. Now onto the right-hander into probably the best part of the track for me. Very confident going into this particular sector. Uphill braking, and downhill braking is where we're pretty confident and we're pretty strong in our abilities, but going into this particular part, still not happy with my entry going into that corner. I'm going to have to brake a little bit earlier, right before the Husqvarna sign, And now onto the left-hander we'll go. It looks like Clement de Sal is actually being picked off in a moment's time by one of the riders behind. It's probably Cairoli if he's gaining a bit of additional speed. Now we're looking at Clement de Sal. It's actually Henry Jacobi who's in third position. He will definitely want to take away a position from Clement de Sal and of course get himself up into the second position. He had a battle with Tony Cairoli at the end of the race 1 and came out on top. And of course he'll be wanting to do that here today to take a double podium here in race 2 for Arroyomolinos. So on the left hand side it's going to be another race victory this season. It won't be the Grand Prix victory, but a race 2 victory here in Arroyomolinos is good enough for me, and it's good enough for the 461. So the end of the Into Xanadu Arroyomolinos Grand Prix. This is race 2 completed, and Matt Grant wins by a couple of seconds ahead of Clement de Sal and Henry Jacobi in third position. Koldenhoff, Hurlings, Yaskinis, Paolan and Monticelli with Cairoli and Mitchell Evans taking your top 10. So a look at the final Grand Prix results. We didn't finish on the podium unfortunately, and Clement de Sal took 47 points out of a potential 50 points. Henry Jacobi in second and Jeffrey Hurlings takes third. So at the end of the Grand Prix the final results are in, and the championship standings are Grant leading by just 10 points ahead of Clement de Sal and furthermore ahead of Gautier Paolan. So upon that note guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. It's good to have Muddy Mondays back. There'll be a lot more for the rest of the future, so definitely stay tuned and hit subscribe if you do enjoy these particular MXGP 2020 videos. So guys, thanks for watching as always. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao for now. Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite set your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.